I am here with Austin City Council member Chris Riley, who is running for District 9 in the new 10-1 system. There are 3 people in this race. Chris, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
And so this is a very tight race. You have you an incumbent, and one other person. So tell us why you're the leading candidate, especially when it comes to the environment.
You know, Brandy, I love this city, and I'm very excited about the opportunities before us. We are facing some very significant growth, and that presents a lot of real concerns, particularly in regard to the environment, but it also presents tremendous opportunities. Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that if we can manage our growth right, we can actually see a lot of development that is far more sustainable than anything we've seen in past decades. And in fact, we have tremendous opportunity to make significant strides in our environmental leadership. And District 9 is a place where there's an especially important opportunity to demonstrate how that growth can be accommodated in a more sustainable way, to set an example not just for the rest of the city, but for the whole country.
Great. So when you think about the next 5 years, what is your greatest hope?
My greatest hope is that we can be that model that I mentioned about how to accommodate growth. You know, right now there are many people who would like to be living in situations that right here in the middle of the city where they can live smaller, live closer to their destinations, mm-hmm. and drive less.
Right.
Our development structure isn't very well set up to accommodate that demand. My hope is that we will make great strides in being able to meet that demand in ways that we never did before. Right. And so that more and more people will be able to live in those situations where they're living smaller, living closer, driving less, and in the process, not only will they be contributing to the character of the city that we love, but they'll also be consuming far fewer natural resources, such as they won't be using as much water, as much electricity, they won't be consuming the same amount of fossil fuels to drive around.
And these are examples like Granny Flats, and talk about some of those.
Sure, yeah. Granny Flats accessory dwelling units are one way that you can do it within neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. We call that invisible density because it's a way to add density without disrupting the existing character of the neighborhood. There are also many opportunities on our transit corridors, places like Guadalupe and Lamar, mm-hmm. where you can provide smaller living opportunities that tend to be more affordable, and they can also provide the ability for people to meet their daily needs without relying on a car as much as they do, as much as they would if they were living in more remote locations that are more car dependent. And so both of those things, accessory dwelling units and micro units and other smaller dwelling options on our corridors, those will require some significant changes. My greatest hope is that we'll be able to meet the challenge of enabling those changes to occur.
Okay, so this is going to be a shift for you if you are elected to represent a district.
That's right.
How I know you care about the city at large, and you've had leadership on a variety of issues, including climate change. How do you see yourself balancing the needs of your district-specific issues with the wider city? How much time you allocate to each of those?
It will be a significant shift, and I think one thing we'll need to learn to do is be much more responsive to residents within the district, because mm-hmm. we're going to now have a far greater degree of accountability for in terms of our responsiveness to people living within the district. Mm-hmm. They're going to know who to reach out to, and we know we are the ones who need to respond to those needs and to deal with the very specific problems that our constituents have within that district. And that's going to be an important challenge, and one that I'm very excited about, because we can get it. I always say I'd like to see us get back to the kind of public service that we had with leaders like Jake Pickle, who were known for having that degree of constituent service. Right. But in addition to that, we also, of course, have to look out for larger citywide concerns, many of which relate to the environment. I think District 9 is a good place to be doing both, because in the process of making District 9 more livable, we'll also be addressing the concerns of the entire city, particularly in regards to the environment.
And District 9 is downtown.
That's right.
So
downtown, and
a lot of people use downtown even if they don't live there.
It is the center of the city. Many people consider it the economic engine of the city. Right. It's also not just downtown, but also a number of neighborhoods around the central city. Mm-hmm. You have neighborhoods as diverse as Hyde Park and Miller, Bolden, Travis Heights. It's a wide variety of neighborhoods and a whole spectrum, going from very dense urban areas toward all the way over to more traditional single-family detached home areas.
Right. Downtown was the wrong word, but central city.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, You've taken on some big challenges in the past. In your next term, were you to be elected, what would be the one thing you would want to accomplish? If you could get one thing done, what would it be?
You know, we're embarking on a process right now to revise our land development code. That is no small thing.
Right.
Our development code is a massive document. Currently, it is a real problem. It's very cumbersome. Our own staff can't apply it well.
Right.
We deal with a lot of issues of misinterpretation and confusion on the part of staff and others who have to deal with the code. It's a very time-consuming process and really doesn't do a very good job of moving us towards the goals set out in our comprehensive plan. My hope is that we will be able to succeed with the effort we're undergoing now to revise our land development code, and that we'll wind up with a code that is much more user-friendly, that is much more predictable for both neighbors and those using the development code, so that it's easier to understand and apply, and it will actually promote the goals of the comprehensive plan instead of thwarting them.
Right. Now, the code, as I understand the people who are working on it, they think their mission is compact and connected. But there's also other priorities within Imagine Austin, which include green infrastructure.
Sure.
How do you see those coming together and balancing those occasionally, at odds issues?
Right. There are a number of goals. I think that compact and connected in some ways has become shorthand for everything, because it actually does, I think it actually fits the whole complex of goals that we have very well, that they all fit together very nicely. I'm very proud of our comprehensive plan, and having a compact, connected city is one way that we can have a healthier, more vibrant city. It's a good way to provide more housing options. All of these are things that are identified as specific goals within the comprehensive plan. We want to make sure that nature is extended into the city, and that becomes far more important as you become more compact and connected.
Right.
And so I think we have the opportunity before us to advance all of those goals in a way that shows that they can all fit together very nicely.
Right. Let's talk about water.
Sure.
You were outspoken against Water Treatment Plant 4, and going forward, it doesn't look like we're getting any wetter around here. So what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to make some tough choices and build some infrastructure that isn't there, or price things differently. What do you see as the way forward with our water?
You know, Brandy, I'm proud of the progress we've been making on water conservation. Our citizens have really responded to the need to get better at conservation.
Yeah.
We're now down below the goal of 140 gallons per capita per day. We are continuing to be more efficient every year with our use of water. But there is a lot more that we can do and are going to need to do in order to meet our water needs over the long term. I was very pleased with the report of the Water Resource Planning Task Force that recently concluded its work and provided a vision for how we can meet our water needs. Their emphasis was really on meeting our own water needs locally,
right,
instead of looking towards other aquifers and piping water in from over great distances, right, as some other cities are doing. We can meet our own needs locally, and there are several ways that we can do it. One is by getting better with our use of the water that we have here already. Think through efforts like gray water and reclaimed water. I'm proud to have played a leadership role on gray water efforts. I assembled I sponsored an item to assemble a gray water advisory group, and they made a number of recommendations that led to significant progress in our ability to use gray water, so that it should be easier for people, for instance, to use their laundry on their landscapes, as they do in California and other places. We also need to do better at reclaimed water, right, with a city's network of purple pipes. We need to get better with identifying opportunities for reservoirs. Things like, I think Decker Lake presents a real opportunity for a new reservoir.
Right.
Once we decommission the Decker power plant, that lake could serve a very valuable role as a new reservoir. So there are a number of creative things that we could do, but the theme is that meeting our needs locally instead of looking to great distances where there are other water sources that could be piped in.
Excellent. Climate change. You get it. It's a big deal, and you've tell everyone what you've authored and what you're hoping to accomplish and what you think we need to do next to implement it.
I'm very proud of the leadership role that the City of Austin has played on climate protection. I was a big fan of Mayor Wynn's climate protection plan in 2007, and I was very proud to sponsor an item earlier this year with your help and the other help of many other environmental leaders to come together to figure out how we could set new goals to do even better at climate protection so that we could continue in that leadership role for Austin nationally. And a big part of that was it's several things. One is setting goals for the whole community to become carbon neutral instead of just focusing on the city's own resources. And that's going to require an ongoing collaborative effort with people throughout the community to figure out how we can get our carbon footprint down to zero.
Right. That's not easy.
That's not easy,
especially in transportation.
Especially in transportation, but it is possible, and it's going to take ongoing conversation and collaboration to get there. And I'm really excited about what we've started on that. We also have identified the need to be more specific about our climate protection goals in each of the various areas that affect the climate, and that includes our energy generation, transportation, industrial and solid waste. We need plans in each of those areas to make sure that we're setting not just visionary long-term goals, but real concrete short-term goals that will lead us to very significant progress in the short term.
Right. Anything else you'd like to say about your vision and your leadership for the environment?
The environment is a large part of Austin's identity, being progressive on the environment. It's become a challenge for us to retain our identity as we continue to grow. Partly because Austin is at risk of becoming so expensive that the people who make Austin so progressive are at risk of getting priced out.
Right.
What I'm excited about is that if we can get better at meeting the housing needs that we have, we can not only enable more people to reduce their carbon footprints by living smaller and closer and driving less, but in the process, we will actually be harnessing the creative energy that those folks bring to the table so that we can maintain that identity for Austin, having the people here that make Austin so progressive in the course of providing those housing options, which will inherently be environmentally beneficial, will also be retaining the people that are so important to everything that we've been doing on the environment. And that's really got to be a central part of our efforts going forward. And I'm so grateful for all the help I've had from the community on all of our environmental efforts, and I'm very excited about continuing to get their help out in the years to come.
Great. Thank you so much,
Thank
Chris.
you so much. I enjoyed it.
So, me too.